I got a Seestar S30 on loan from the Nimax Corporation. That's the parent corporation of Astroshop and Omegon. As said, it's on loan for 3 months, and today I'm going to test it for the first time. Seestar is a nice little smart telescope, which is very easy to set up. But you can set it up in all dots mode, but as you can see, I set it up in equatorial mode, and for this I use the Omegon Pro equatorial wedge, which is a very nice match to the Seestar. I'm planning to do the comparison with my own astrophotography rig, which consists of a SQA 106 astrophotograph from Oscar, which is paired with a cooled Astrocam. It's not the newest one anymore. It's a ZWO ASI 1600 mm, and it runs with a filter wheel with RGB and H-alpha and O3 filters. We'll see if we need them. It has an auto guider, and of course it sits on a full-fledged astrophotography mount. It's a harmonic mount, Skywatcher Wave 150i. And the whole rig is controlled via an ASI Air Plus computer. So altogether this is a very unfair comparison, obviously. The astrophotography rig is quite complex. You see a lot of cables. It's not just my professional cable management. Just kidding. I've never been very good at cable management, but it's workable. And the whole astrophotography rig costs roughly $10,000, while this little guy here, the Seestar S30, has no cables at all and costs just about $700. So I'm looking forward to this completely unfair comparison, and I really will enjoy seeing if there is a big difference or not. Setting up the Seestar is quite straightforward. You just point it north and then you switch it on by a single button, and then it's ready to be operated from an app. You can install it on any Android or iPhone, or of course how I did it, on an iPad. So we switch to the iPad Seestar app now. So we're now in the Seestar app, and of course first we have connect the app to the Seestar, which is quite straightforward. You just put connect and then it will find the Seestar. If you have Bluetooth connected, and you just press connect and it establishes a Wi-Fi connection, and you just press join, wait for a few seconds, and I'm connected to my Seestar. Now, as you can see, there are a few things I can do. I actually can open the arm by pressing the open arm. This will open the arm of the Seestar. That's, for example, useful if you have to install a solar filter for some solar observing, but otherwise you can actually just leave it closed for the start. First thing we have to do for shooting deep sky, we have to polar align actually the Seestar. For this we go to Me, and this opens a tab, and here I see device management. So I go to device management, and you see it already detected that I am in equatorial mode, which is nice. In equatorial mode, if I click that, I get this page, and you can see my current latitude, which is 48 degrees, and you see that I already set the equatorial wedge to match this 48 degrees north. If I open up the equatorial wedge and I operate the screws. Then you see that it is automatically detected, and obviously I'm getting out of the target latitude, so I'm controlling it back to 48 degrees. Here I am, and I will lock down the equatorial wedge. So this is quite easy, quite straightforward. Now that we have set the latitude, it's time to tone in the azimuth. For this we get the polar alignment deviation. I choose the North Star and I choose start to get the deviation. Now the S30 starts operating and hones in on the North Star. Takes an image and then it moves a little bit, takes another image, and all these images are plate solved, so in the end the S30 knows where it's pointing and it gives you directions on which direction to move the base. So as we see, the latitude is okay. That was to be expected because we were already at 48 degrees. Now we have to move the azimuth, and we do this. There's the screws on the polar wedge, and we have to move it to be within within 1 degree. So now we are within 1 degree, and the S30 tells us we're good. So we are nicely polar aligned now and ready to shoot. So now we're ready to start our imaging run. So we go to stargazing, which is actually the deep sky part, and we get some suggestions of what we could actually shoot. I would like to shoot the nebula, and I would actually like to shoot the wheel nebula. So there's a list you can actually choose from, but as I know very well what I want to shoot and where it is located, I skip this and instead I choose the planetarium, and I can just move over to the position of the wheel nebula, and here I can nicely see the red frame is the field of view of the S30, and I can frame my shot like this, and I just push go to, and the scope starts going to the position. Scope takes a shot, does some plate solving, and does some fine tuning to actually be in the correct position. After this is done, the target is acquired and we can start with our imaging run. I start the imaging run with dark frame. This is to enhance the image later, and this takes about 4 minutes. So we wait until this is finished. So after the target was acquired, the scope automatically starts shooting, but it was still too bright. So I actually stopped this, and instead I want to program the scope to start shooting when it's actually fully dark. So I go to plan and I create a new plan, and now I have to give it a name, and I call it Western Wheel Nebula. I could also call it Witch's Broom, because the Western Wheel Nebula also goes by the name of Witch's Broom Nebula, but I give it the name Western Wheel Nebula. I confirm this, and now it goes back to where the scope is pointing, and I can now put in the times, and I would like to start shooting at 11:50, and I would like to shoot until 3:30 in the morning. So I can confirm this. I see that the low light pollution filter will be on, which is definitely a good idea for this target. Here we go. So I actually have this plan now. I go back to the plan page and I simply push execute, and it will start shooting at 11:50. Easy as that. So we're approaching 10 minutes to 12, and we'll see what happens when the plane is supposed to start shooting in a few seconds. There we go. It's 11:50, and we see that stargazing switched. So it's reframing actually first. And after reframing, it starts shooting. I programmed the live stack, and I programmed the raw, so it's taking 60 seconds exposures and it's stacking. So let's see what happens. So after a minute we get some light luminosity around the brightest star there in the Western Wheel Nebula, and then one more minute and the next exposure will be stacked on top of the first. And obviously that's not a big change, but every exposure that gets stacked on the other one will actually add to the image becoming less noisy. So signal to noise ratio is getting better and better. So we just let this run. We can actually head for some sleep and check the image in the next morning. I'm not only getting the live stack, I'm also getting the RAWs, which I can download tomorrow and process the image with the RAWs and with my regular deep sky workflow. I'm quite sure this will result in a better result, in a better image than the automatic stack, even though I have some possibilities for adjustments, like for example I could adjust brightness, I could adjust contrast, saturation, and there's even a dynamic background extraction which can obviously extract some of the background gradients. There's also an AI enhance which can reduce stars with some AI functions, but I will do that on the finalized stack, and obviously I will do my own processing so we can later compare the two. So yeah, I'll just head for some sleep and see what we got during the night tomorrow. Good night. So it's next morning and we're ready to check on our images. Here is a raw stack of 192 1-minute exposures with the Seestar. As you can see, it's quite noise free and there's quite a bit of nebulosity visible, although this image is not processed at all. So that's a very good starting point from my point of view. The next image is the AI enhanced image. As you can see, the stars are smaller. That's due to the star reduction. The background is darkened, more even, which is a good thing. There's more contrast in the image, which is basically as well a good thing, but I do not like the nebulosity too much. It seems very washed out due to too much noise reduction. And for me, the raw even looks better than the AI enhanced. Here's my own processing of the data, and as you can see, I was able to bring out quite a bit of nebulosity that wasn't really visible in the first two images. I was able to preserve the detail without washing out due to noise reduction. So manual processing skills are still important with the Seestar, if you ask me. So now back to the initial question, how does the Seestar perform compared to my full astrophotography rig? It's important to realize that my astro rig has a different field of view than the Seestar. Actually, the Seestar has about twice the field of view of my astro rig. What's also obvious if we compare the two images is that I was able to get more detail, that my astro rig has more resolution. This is completely normal. This is to be expected when you compare a 30mm telescope with a 106mm telescope like my SQA 106. Another thing that we can see is that I was able to capture more nebulosity, that my image is more contrasty. This is also to be expected because I was shooting with truly narrowband filters. My Oxygen 3 filter has 4.5 nanometers, my H-alpha filter has 3 nanometers, while the Seestar light pollution filter is much broader, about 7 times broader, with 30 nanometers on the O3 channel and 20 nanometers on the H-alpha channel. So that's not a true narrowband filter, it's more like a light pollution filter. That said, it's also important to realize that for example, my H-alpha filter costs as much as the entire Seestar. So, as I said in the beginning, this is a completely unfair comparison, but it's still important to realize that the Seestar performs actually very well. I mean, this is a very good image, and if you know how to process a Seestar image, it's not just a beginner tool, it's also a very valuable tool for seasoned astrophotographers. It's a perfect grab-and-go telescope if you are in a hurry and don't want to set up an entire astro rig, or is highly transportable. You will see that in another post from me. I was able to carry the Seestar up on a mountain top, while I definitely wouldn't do that with my full astrophotography rig. So, to conclude this movie, I'm very impressed with the performance of the Seestar, and I think it's a very cool little telescope. This is a valuable tool for both beginners, easy to set up, easy to use, but as well a nice telescope for seasoned astrophotographers, a nice addition to a full astrophotography rig in case you want to have it more transferable or in case you are in a hurry to set up.